Hi, this is PR Frank, and in part one of this Illustrator CC Tracing Basics, we take a look at how to make a simple trace using circles and some rotation and adding fills and strokes. What we're going to do now is we're going to take the other trace and align it to the other artboard and begin tracing that with some other techniques. So one of the easiest ways to do that is to go ahead and duplicate the sketch layer by, first I'll turn it on, and we'll click and we'll drag it to the new item icon, and now we have something called Sketch Copy. So if we open up the Sketch Copy layer and unlock it, and then we open up the clipping mask layer, you can see if I stretch this out a little bit more, it's called a clipping group. We have a rectangle and we have a linked file. The easiest thing to do is to first move the rectangle to the other side. I'll select to the right of that layer, and that allows me to take this rectangle and move it over to our other artboard, revealing what's on the other artboard. Now you'll see what's on this artboard, but that's because this other sketch is still turned on. Okay, so then what we got to do is we got to select the linked file part of that and move it around inside of that other rectangle clipping mask so that it aligns to our artboard. That looks pretty good. All right. Once again, we'll lock that back up, collapse it so that we can ignore that. I'll go to the top of our bubbles layer and I'll make another new layer and I'll just call that storm. All right. So you can see that I've used line to represent clouds and a storm with lightning bolts because they're gonna help me show you some techniques using the pen tool in Illustrator. With using the pen tool, you can do anything. You can even make circles if you wanted to, but it's not as easy as just drawing a circle. So here's what we're gonna do, making sure we have the storm layer selected. You know, it's even a good idea to lock our other layer so we don't accidentally draw some shapes on it. I'll go ahead and get my pen tool. Here's what it looks like. And we'll start by simply tracing some of these lightning bolts. That is as simple as clicking on each corner of the bolts that I have drawn. I'm going to move a little down here so we don't overlap. Okay. So I'm just clicking at all the corners. Now, here's the important part. When I get back to where I started, I hover that first anchor point, you'll notice a circle appears. That tells me I have a closed path. And that closed path is really important for tracing. It helps us keep that shape and any of its fill contained to that object. Okay? Then I continue that process for my other two lightning bolt shapes. Just clicking at each intersection, at each corner, and putting an anchor point there. And this works really well for any shapes that you have that are just made up of lines. By the way, when you close a path, as I did when I ended up back where I started, it releases the pen. It's like picking up your pen so that I can draw somewhere else. If, for example, you wanted to just draw a line with 2 clicks, and then you wanted to draw somewhere else, you'll notice that pen thinks you want to keep drawing. A way to pick it up is to simply hold down Command and click, which releases that. Okay, and then you can start drawing somewhere else. Let me get rid of that. All right, so now these 3 lightning bolts we've drawn have no fill and no stroke. I would like them to have a stroke that's black. Okay, there we go. So now we have those simple shapes drawn just by using the pen tool, drawing straight lines and clicking. Okay, now what we're going to do is use the pen tool once again and trace this cloud. If I click here at the top of the page, I want to get this curve going. Now the way curves work in Illustrator using the pen tool is by using something called a Bezier curve. I like to think of this as a hill. I want to get from one point to the other. I have to go to the top of the middle of that hill and click and hold and drag, and then these little handles come out. And as I click and hold and drag very carefully, I get a curve that matches the curve I'm going for. Then I can release. Then I head to the next point, and it looks like, see how it gives you an idea what that curve will look like? It looks like this intersection is going to be a perfect curve without having to click and drag. Sometimes you have to click and drag at the destination to get the rest of the curve you want, but in this case, I think all I'm going to have to do is click once. All right, now I'm ready for my next hill. I go to the center of that hill and I click and I drag till I get what I want, release, come to the intersection, and once again, it's a really nice curve. No need to click and drag, so I just click once. The top of the next hill, click and drag. And my next point is also very nice. Click there. Come to the top of this hill, click and drag. Come to my next intersection, click. Top of this next little hill, click and drag, and finalize it right there. And at the corner, and make it a complete closed path here at that corner. All right, now I can fill this with an ominous darkness by flipping the fill in the stroke. And now I can turn off my sketch to see what that's going to look like. And that's looking pretty good. All right, so this cloud didn't provide what I was hoping, which is sort of a more nuanced way of using the pen tool. So let me show you some things here about the pen tool while I still have this drawing. I'm going to go ahead and just turn off the storm layer and make a new layer so I can show you some things. All right, I'm going to click and drag for a curve, come over here and click and drag. Let's say I want to go back the other way. If I want to go this way without a curve, what dictates the direction I'm going now is the handle, the second handle that came off of this anchor point. So I have to get rid of this handle in order to go this way. So I'm going to Alt-click at the anchor point. It gets rid of that handle. Now I can draw a straight line or a curve from where I left off. Okay. And then continue clicking and dragging the way I want to. If I want to go down this way without a curve, once again I have to Alt-click at my anchor point to get rid of the handle going in that direction so that I can continue in this direction. Okay. So it's really important to be able to do that, and then I finish off at the end. Okay, so those are some nuances about how to use the pen tool in this case. Let me get back to my cloud layer and show you some other things. See how it's a little bumpy in there? I'd like to fix it. To be able to fix what you've already drawn with the pen tool, you can use the direct selection tool. And when you start hovering, it shows you some paths and some anchors and some handles. So I click on the anchor point, and if I zoom in there, it helps me see a lot better what I want to be able to do. I can actually take the handles and alter them after I've drawn my shape. So now I have like a smoother curve that I'm working with here. And now you can see it's a little smoother in there. So it's okay to make mistakes as you go with the pen tool, because you can come back and you can really fine-tune those later by using the direct selection tool. All right, zooming back out again, there we have our finished project. I hope this is helpful to you in your design work with Illustrator.